I am a buccaneer. Those words left my tongue 137 times in my life, 136 of which were in this one day in 1987 Halloween. And when I first said those words that day, they were filled with pride and power. But by the last time I said those words that day, they were through gritted teeth and breathless. You see, I had spent most of the morning trying to put together a Halloween-appropriate outfit through some ragged clothes that I had. And I was really surprised at the amount of raggedy clothes I actually had to pick through, and it really slowed down the process. But that didn't bother me because the one thing that I was not going to do, I was not going to be one of those 1980s Halloween kids with the big plastic mask with the tight elastic string going around your head, which I believe cut off circulation to your brain and actually led an entire generation of children to make poor life choices. But what I wanted to do instead is to come up with something creative, something I could have made myself. And it really wasn't like I had all that much choice, because with the limited resources that my mother had, I seriously thought that she was going to actually invest in a one-day Halloween outfit. So I was about done putting these things together when I noticed that there was something missing. So I took this tattered old white T-shirt into the kitchen sink, and with a mixture of ketchup and water, I made this bloody T-shirt thing. And when I didn't give myself time to actually dry it before I had to go to school that day, so I had to put this wet T-shirt on, and I went into the bathroom and stood in the mirror, and that's when I saw it. I am a buccaneer. And nothing but the diesel engine of that school bus coming down the road broke that stare. And I immediately bolted out of the house and ran out of the door and was completely greeted by a very chilly and windy fall day in a wet T-shirt. But I was unbothered and made my way into the school bus filled with plastic faces of He-Man and Papa Smurf, Miss Piggy, and the Care Bears. And their soulless eyes were staring very intently at me through those plastic masks, a look that I could only attribute to absolute and sheer awe at the assemblage that I had put together. But no one questioned the buccaneer. No one. Not until I made it to school, and we started off school that day with the morning assembly because we were going to have a day-long Halloween costume contest, and people were going to be voting on what they thought were the best costume. And that was the first time I got the question, what are you? And I'm thinking it's just a technical question. So when I leaned in to answer the question, I realized that in my haste to catch the bus, I forgot to brush my teeth. So with the 7 C's of death breath, I leaned right in and said, I'm a buccaneer. Now my costume had become method. I was in it. And that entire day, everyone kept on asking me, what are you? What is that? What are you wearing? And in my mind, I'm thinking with every query came a vote. Because people only wanted to know who I was so they can go and vote for me. And at the end of the day, when we called the assembly to find out who won, I made sure I sat right in the front so I didn't have to spend much time going on stage to collect my award. And second runner-up was announced. This slightly inappropriate Elvira costume. First runner-up was an vinyl mask. Head on, Freddy Krueger with the fake plastic knives. And now it was time for first place. So I'm preparing myself to get up, and they announce Jason Voorhees, Friday the 13th. And with a little disappointment and disbelief, I broke down, but I couldn't help but acknowledge the fact that that Jason costume was actually kind of good, because he really did bring an actual machete into school. And if, we're measuring Halloween costumes by the ability to scare the shit out of people, that one was pretty effective. So I took my loss, and while these trio of terror over here with the judges and their celebration, I just took a look at the scoreboard just to see how many votes I got. I figured I must have gotten a lot at least. And there by the Buccaneer, 0 votes. So this marks the beginning of my long, slippery slope slide into my still current high fructose corn syrup addiction. Because, see, the only thing that I could do to satiate myself from this depressive mood that I was in was candy. And this happened to be the day where the entire fucking world was a free candy store. So when school was done, I went right to trick-or-treating, and behind every door was sweet failure. Honey, what are you? What is this? Girl, come look at this kid here. What is you doing, child? What is that? What the hell is a Buccaneer? And by the 10th house, I had cut off this transaction. So the minute people opened the door, all I said instead of trick or treat was put the damn candy in the bag. So I went home that night with a very healthy booty, and I sat down at the table, and I ate every single piece of candy. And while I'm in the throes of the worst sugar high versus sugar breakdown of my life, my cousin Carlton, who's older than I, came from work, and he was expecting to enjoy in the spoils of the day. And when I told him that I had eaten all my candy already, he responded, well, did you have someone check it first? I was like, what do you mean, check it? And like, as a child of the 80s, Reagan era, we were pretty fearless. Like, we didn't have problems riding on the back of pickup trucks. We certainly rode in cars without seatbelts. And bicycle helmets was something that we never heard of. But there were 2 things that we were afraid of in the 80s. And that was, 1, any contact with drugs, because that would turn your brain into a fried egg. Or people going around poisoning kids through Halloween candy. And a depressed and despondent me was all too willing to participate in Carlton's trope. As he's telling me every symptom that I have in my poisoning, I'm agreeing. Yes, I have that. Oh, God, yes. So I laid down on the couch and was preparing myself to see the 11 years of my life flash before my eyes. But the only thing that kept looping and looping was that entire Halloween day where no one knew what the hell I was or what the hell I was trying to do. And at that moment, that trance was broken when Carlton turned around and looked at me and said, well, what the hell are you anyway? And in a dramatic and appropriate way that you would ever recite your last words, I said, I'm a Buccaneer. Thank you.
Scott. Sheldon Scott, everybody. Thank you. Say trick or treat.
Trick or treat, or give me the damn candy.
Oh, I brought you a real costume because witches' costumes are the best, right, crowd? Woo! Give it up for Sheldon Scott. Give it up for yourself if you're wearing a costume. We are so happy you're here. We are so happy you're spending this portion of your Halloween with us. We love you. I'm going to just keep things going. You want to hear another one? Yes. Say trick or treat. Trick or treat. We'll see. We'll see how this is. Please welcome to the stage our friend Jason Pittman. Keep it. Woo!
Hello, everybody. I'm sorry that you missed my opening joke. Everyone inside the helmet thought it was hilarious. If you do not know me, I would like to say, first of all, that I am surprised to hear that. I am quite famous, and I wonder how you've been spending your time. I was a teacher here in the Washington, D.C. area for a number of years, and I decided since teachers have the summers off, I was going to spend my summers in search of adventure. So I joined the Teachers at Sea program. The Teachers at Sea program is a lot like the Teachers in Space program, but it is substantially less famous. I was hoping when I went to the Teachers at Sea program that I would see maybe a giant octopus or maybe pirates or ghost pirates. No, just regular pirates. Ghost pirates would be too scary, and I'm a man of science. My job aboard Teachers at Sea was to conduct a live educational broadcast during deep sea explorations, and it was amazing. We found shipwrecks, underwater volcanoes, interesting life forms. One of the life forms that I would like to tell you about is the sea cucumber. The sea cucumber is not a cucumber at all. It's not just some salty vegetable at the bottom of the ocean. That's a pickle. I didn't make it to the Kennedy Center making jokes about pickles. It's an animal, and it is amazingly exciting. It has digestive-based defense mechanism. When it is scared, it evacuates its body to get away. It is an animal that looks like a vegetable that poos itself in the face of danger. That is literally the worst Venn diagram you can be in the center of in the animal kingdom. Aboard the ship, there's two groups of people. There's the science crew. I was a part of the science crew. And there's like the crew. These are the roughneck guys that run the high seas. When I got to the ship, I wanted to be friends with the crew. I love science. Look how excited I got about the poo pickle. But I came here for adventure. So first time we get shore leave, I follow the guys from the crew back to a bar. I go over to the table and I say, hey, fellas, what's there to do for fun on this boat? This boat, as it turns out, is what you say to a group of sailors when you want them to know you have never been on a ship before. So they made fun of me for that. One of the guys from my watch, let's call him Nemo. Nemo says to me, we're drinking vodka, sit down. And they were drinking vodka, alarming amounts of vodka. And we were in a country where I don't think they were regulating what you put in a bottle and call vodka. I think mine was diesel. So I may have made an uncomfortable face when I drank mine. And they made fun of me for that too. And then one of them even made fun of my then very patchy stubble on my face. He said I probably couldn't grow a proper beard. Well, spoiler alert, I'm a little sensitive, and that got under my skin. A little while later, though, we start to get to be a little bit more friendly. We even got into a scuffle with some other fellas in the bar because somebody mispronounced somebody else's nationality. And I got punched in the face because I was the someone. So a few weeks later, we're out at sea. I finish my watch. I finish my breakfast. It's a crack of dawn. And two ships sail up on our ship and box us in. They told me if I did this, a scary sound would play. I'm going to try it a few more times. We're going to work on this, Kennedy Center. Let's get back to the story. These two boats sail up and box our boat in, and I did not know who they were. It wasn't a big wooden ship with a big black flag and a skull and some crossbones on it. I thought maybe these were just some other friendly sailors out looking for sea cucumbers, just like we were. So I ran out on the deck and waved. And Nemo comes over to me very quickly, and he says, don't do that. Those are the bad guys. And nation's capital, I have never understood the nature of the sea cucumber so well as I did in that moment. Because I wanted to evacuate myself and run away. I was terrified. I did not know what real pirates look like. You know what real pirates don't look like? Johnny Depp. You know what they do look like? They look like they haven't eaten in a while. I was terrified. So I said, Nemo, I am terrified. I'm not sure I know what to do right now. He said, you go to your station and you do your job. Now, my station involves looking at a screen and protecting most of our precious sea cucumber-related data. I didn't think that it was very fair. Did I point my finger and not know about it? Did I make too many jokes about sea cucumbers at a place where maybe that's too lowbrow of humor? My mother is here, and she will probably have words with me after the show about that. Where was I? I wanted to poop and run away. And Nemo and his buddies are going out onto the deck to stand in between me and the danger. And I thought to myself, that's not right. And then I remembered all the fighting that has happened on this trip so far I have done with my face. And I never finished that course I took online in pirate fighting. I signed up and I paid the money, but there's no set schedule. So it's easy to get distracted. And I like to watch a lot of videos with sea cucumbers in them. So I went to my station and I did my job, and Nemo and the crew did their job, and our ship is very well run, and we were ready very quickly, more quickly than these pirates expected. So they did a U-turn and well, they ran off, but I guess you don't run in the ocean. They did whatever. They oceaned their way off. I should have thought of a verb for that, but I did not. Later on that day, I was in the galley having a meal with the crew. I didn't know quite what to say to the men that had just protected my life like that. I wanted to say thank you very much, but thank you very much is also what I say to people who hand me a delicious Big Mac, and it didn't seem sufficient. I love you very much seemed like a pretty good upgrade, but I don't think you should say I love you very much to the men you're living with on a boat who drink gasoline and scare away pirates just by looking at them. I went off in search of adventure, and I think what I found was that what I thought was adventure was what a lot of men and women have to do to put food on the table. So I'm going to say now what I should have said to those guys then. I want to thank all the men and women who stand between me and the danger. Thank you very much, Washington, D.C. Let's have some fun tonight.
Jason Pittman. Jason Pittman, everybody. The lovely Grace. Now, Grace, the call was for witches.
Yeah, so I kind of have a moral objection to being a witch.
Boo. Go on.
Okay, so my parents were born and raised in Nigeria, and they're pretty Christian, very religious. So when they got to the churches in the United States, everybody told them about the evils of Halloween. And they said, you can't let your kids go out at Halloween. And so my parents never let us go trick-or-treating. And we begged and we begged and we begged and we begged because we really wanted to go trick-or-treating because it's like awesome. It's like free candy. And so my parents thought about it, and they thought about it. And then they realized, we're Nigerian. We actually don't give a shit. And so they let us go trick-or-treating, but we had one rule. We couldn't dress up like witches or warlocks.
So what are you?
I am the Black Swan. And now presenting the illustrious and spooky Diane Ivory.
Hello. The summer after my junior year of college, I applied for a really competitive internship. And I remember that the sign on our school bulletin board said, "Do it all in one of Michigan's most famous cities." And I couldn't believe when I found out that I'd gotten the internship and I would be working for the Mackinac Island Town Crier. Now, for those of you who are not from Michigan, Mackinac Island is a really big deal in our state. It is one of the most popular tourist attractions that we have, and it's supposed to be kind of like the land that time forgot, kind of similar to colonial Williamsburg. There's a lot of historical reenactment there. And in order to keep the magic alive, they do not allow cars on the island. They only allow horses and bicycles. And the Mackinac Island Town Crier is a publication that runs weekly in the summer and bi-monthly in the winter. And I was so excited for my first day. I rode over on the Starline ferry, and I get off the boat, and I'm immediately hit by the smell of fudge and horse shit. And these are the other two things that Mackinac Island is famous for. The selling and packing of fudge is a very important industry on Mackinac Island. And I trudge up to the newspaper office, and that's where I meet William, and he is the editor and publisher of the Town Crier, lifelong island resident, and he looks me up and down, and he says, "Oh, now you know, I'm so excited to teach you how to do it all on Mackinac Island." And this is where I find out that doing it all means not only living above the newspaper office, but writing and photographing all the stories and doing things like going down to the docks at 7 a.m. to wait for the ferry to come in to deliver the newspapers, which we'd have to take off pallets, put in like a little cart, kind of one of those like Monty Python, bring out your dead, kind of that situation, and wheel that around to refill all the newspaper boxes on the island. And I thought I would spice things up by trying to suggest story ideas to William, and I'd say things like, "Hey, William, what if we did a story about how the Michigan economy has affected Mackinac Island tourism?" "Oh, now you know. There's a historic baseball game up at Fort Mackinac today." "Hey, William, what if we did a story about the local election, the local school board election, find out if any of the politicians have skeletons in their closet? What do you say?" "Oh, now you know. The Mackinac Island first grade class is riding their bikes all the way around the island by themselves today." But one morning, really early, he called me. "Oh, now you know, Diane. There is a big breaking news that I want you to go cover. A big tree has fallen in the cemetery." So I ride my bike up to the cemetery. It's kind of in this remote area in the middle of the island. And I get up there to photograph the big tree, write about the big tree, interview everyone about how they feel about the big tree having fallen down the night before. And while I'm there, I start reading, the historical signs that have to do with the cemetery. And I'm reading it, and it says that the cemetery was originally down on Main Street, like with the rest of the island, kind of near us. And it had been moved in the late 1800s by the settlers there. But fun fact, they did not take all the bodies with them when they moved the cemetery. And in fact, those bodies were basically buried underneath the town crier office. So I bike back home and I say to William, I heard that there's bodies underneath the office. Does that concern you? "Oh, now you know, Diane. Those folks, they probably was undesirable or poor and they just didn't feel like moving them. But you know what? They're long dead. I wouldn't worry about it." But late that night, I'm in the apartment above the office, and I'm listening to the clip-clop of horses' hooves on the cobblestone, and all I can think about are these restless spirits that are possibly buried underneath the newspaper office. And it's like every time I look out of the corner of my eye, I expected to see a colonial woman standing there. And I just couldn't stop thinking about it, about this possible ghost, and I imagined that her name was Mariana, and that she was a prostitute who had come over on the Canadian fur trade. And perhaps she had been sleeping with the Reverend, but now she was carrying his child. And he didn't want anyone to know, so he poisoned her and her secret baby. And she was buried in that cemetery, and now her spirit haunts the town crier office. And every single time I heard a floorboard creak, I would imagine it was Mariana pacing the halls endlessly. And every time that I would come back to my vanity and find things moved around, I would think maybe Mariana was trying on my massive collection of Sephora lipsticks, looking for that perfect shade. And every single time my internet went off and on, the power would go off and on for hours, sometimes for days. Maybe Mariana was upset that instead of avenging her death, I was looking up videos of sea cucumbers. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but when your primary entertainment in life is walking down Main Street hoping that a shop has changed its window display, it's kind of easy to believe in a ghost. And I knew as was being ridiculous a little bit because even though it was really easy to poison people in like the 1700s, like ridiculously easy because you could just blame it on natural causes and they didn't know. I've read like a lot of fiction, so I know what I'm talking about. And there were no prostitutes on Mackinac Island. I mean, there's no criminals on Mackinac Island. Every week I would read the police reports, and the big crimes were minor shoplifting, horse and carriage accidents, and bicycle theft. But I still wanted to believe. I wanted to have something interesting to take back with me after my summer on Mackinac Island. And one day I was scanning through those police reports at the police station, which was located in an old grist mill. Why wouldn't it be? And I saw a story that caught my attention. It was a story about a man that had lost $500. I pulled all the files, all the statements. It said that the man had been hanging out with 2 new female friends, and at the end of the night, they had stolen $500 from him. Then I read the female friend's statement, and they said they had given he had given the $500 to them at the end of the night because he was just that nice. Then I read the man's wife's statement. And she said that they were prostitutes. They were Mackinac Island prostitutes. And they were sleeping with men for, and this is a direct quote, fudge. Thank you. Fudge, souvenirs, ferry tickets, and whatever else they could get. And I knew this was my way to avenge Mariana's death and, just break a scandal. Let's do something in this town. Come on. I'm a reporter. I want to do this. And I wrote the story, and I turned it into William the next day, and he read it and looks at me. Oh, now you know. Diane. The Lilac Festival parade is today. So I'm going to need you to head down there because the Budweiser Clydesdales is coming. So as I'm standing there in the parade route, I realized that William's never going to publish my story, and I'm never going to race down to the docks at 7 a.m., rip open the pallets, and see prostitution ring uncovered, daring young reporter exposes the truth. William wanted the story to stay buried the way that the bodies were buried underneath the town crier office. But the more that I thought about it, the more I kind of sympathized with the man in the prostitution story because he was probably just looking for some fun and companionship, and is that really so wrong? I feel like I had kind of invented Mariana for the same reasons, because after all, on Mackinac Island, everyone needs a boo. Thank you.
We'd like to give you this, actually, or not. That's fine. I'll just hold it.
Diane Ivory, everybody. Give her a hand. And who do we have here?
Well, Shrake.
Yes.
I don't know if you know this about me, but I really like puns.
I do know this.
And when I was younger, every year I was the same Halloween costume. I had a cutout box of Honey Bunches of Oats with a tinfoil knife, and I was a serial killer. And it hung around on a thing of dental floss, because apparently I don't have string. So then, a few years ago, I finally bought into the peer pressure of women being the sexy version of whatever they're supposed to be. So
you bought into it all right.
Well, thank you. So for 3 years in a row, I was a sexy bee. And I had to retire that costume when a guy, the third year, ended up in the same costume at the same party. And I'm like, all right, no more sexy bee. So this year, I decided to combine my 2 interests, my love of puns and the peer pressure to be the sexy version. So I don't know if you can see I have some sandcastles on my hat and a pail and a shovel here, and I am a sexy sandwich. Thank you.
Okay.
And now I'd like to introduce a tall drink of blood, Simone.
Woo!
Life is weird, right? There we go. It's inherently awkward. It's like going to a steakhouse and opening the menu and realizing you're a vegan. It's just inherently awkward. And I got to tell you something. I've always been awkward my entire life, okay? I'm not, for those who are curious, I'm Ethiopian. Hold your applause, guys. And growing up, it's like, what is it to be American? what is it to be black American? What is it to be first generation African American? And I got made fun of all the time. They were like, Simone, you Ethiopian? Y'all be eating that spongy bread, right? And then I actually also heard, you Ethiopian? Y'all brothers be starving. My first grade teacher was very unprofessional. I didn't fit in with anybody, I gotta tell you. It was just like, the black dudes were like, nah. The Ethiopians were like, you're not Ethiopian enough. And Chinese people were like, don't even look at us. And the thing is with the black identity, it's only two basic notes. You're either a nerd or a thug. You're either Carlton Banks or you're Tupac Shakur. And I'm as urban as a Rick Santorum sweater vest, okay? Let's be honest. Right? So again, I'm just not on that spectrum. It's not as nuanced the identity. Like, I didn't know one day I was gonna look like Key from Key and Peele. Or, you laugh too hard. I did not know this. So, of course, 10 years ago, early 20s, my buddy Mike from Baltimore, kind of a black nerd like myself, and he comes up to me, he's like, yo, Simone, we gotta go to this Baltimore bachelor party. And I'm like, oh, okay. But I was like, whatever, it's just a bachelor party. I've never been to one at that point. But he's like, come on, it's going to be in Baltimore City. And I was like, you know what? This is going to be an opportunity to hang out with the cool brothers, man. We're going to be partying. It's going to be like a rap video. It's going to be awesome. And I was like, yeah, this is my time. I can actually be accepted by all the dudes. So we go from D.C. to Baltimore. And we go to Baltimore. We hear all the Baltimore wire sounds. We hear, woo, woo, woo. Shut up. That was Baltimore. Right on time. Okay, so anyway, we get to the door of this bachelor party, and I'm like, all right, we're going to do this. It's going to be my time. It's going to be awesome. So the door opens in this row house, and a dude opens up the door. He was naked, all right, with a camera, and this is the fall. And I'm like, that's really naked, okay? And he's like, his name is Eddie. He's the bachelor. And I'm like, well, if this guy's naked, it's got to be a lot of nudity and crazy stuff going on inside. The dude opens up the door. He's like, all right, so hey, what's up, Mike? Who's this dude? Look like Carlton Banks. Well, it didn't help I was wearing, like, khaki pants. I got it from the ethnic side of the Gap at the time. But anyway, so we go into this party, and it's just smoke everywhere, weed smoke, just cigar smoke. It looks like a rap video that for those who didn't make it. It was just like a reject party. And it was just, people were passed out, people were just smoking, talking, whatever. It just wasn't cool. It was just one notch above, like, a C-SPAN show or something. And I gotta tell you, I was as awkward as, like, Donald Trump in a wind tunnel. I was just feeling uncomfortable. So again, I'm just trying to make a good time out of nothing. And my buddy Mike is like, he's like my Baltimore City whisperer. He's like whispering in my ear. He's like, Simone, man, just don't let anything faze you. Whatever happens, don't let anything faze you. Act like one of those dudes have the clipboard and we're outside of a Whole Foods. Just ignore him. And so we're just walking around, and then, we go downstairs. It's the mid-2000s. So, of course, what's the song of the mid-2000s? We hear, to the window, to the wall, skeet, skeet, skeet. Very uplifting stuff. And the DJ is a 50-something-year-old guy, and that was the father of the groom. And I was like, oh, we got DJ ARP in the house. I see. This is something. And I'm like, and it's just on loop. To the window, to the window. It's just like, this is crazy. But whatever, I'm not going to be phased. We're going to have a good time. I'm going to be accepted. This is going to be house party from the 90s. We're going to do the dance. And then I accidentally step on someone's fresh Jordans. Better. All right. And you don't step on someone's new Jordans without something happening. Dude's like, yo, man, what are you doing, man? This is fucking fresh shit, man. What are you doing? I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. Come on, man. We cool, right? I don't even know what I was talking about. I was like, I think I've seen this in after school or like one of these like videos or something. Didn't even make any sense. And he's like, all right, cool, we cool. And then we fucking party. I was more excited than like Hillary Clinton at a pantsuit sale. It was awesome. We're just having a good time as much. And still, people are like, where are the strippers? Where are the strippers? The only person that was naked was the bachelor himself. It was weird. It was weird. And again, it was just not as exciting exactly, but whatever. We're just making a good time out of nothing. And there's this guy, his name is Mark, kind of just sitting there angry, and someone bumps into him. And then he lifts up his shirt, and it's a handle for a knife. And I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be something. Here we go. It was like someone trying to cut him off in the line of Chipotle or something. He was pissed. And then someone bumped him one more time, and this time he got really pissed, like Bernie Sanders being told to use his inside voice in a library. He was pissed off. He was like, he pulled out, he actually had a knife. He was whipping it around. He was like, everyone, get the fuck out. I wanted to see some strippers. I didn't see shit. Everyone, get out of my, and it was his house. And we were running up the stairs, and we were getting out of there. We were just getting out of there, and as we get to the door, and this is like weird. It was, at one point, it was almost like Three Stooges, like, whoop, 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 like running around like the tables and shit. And then we hear a knock at the door. Boom, boom, boom. Baltimore police. And we were all like, oh, shit. Now this is really going down. The door opens up. And Mark... I don't know what that was. Mark is like, he's like, what the fuck? And the cop opens the door. He's like, there's been a disturbance here. We hear there's a lot of noise going on. Is this your house? And Mark's like, yeah, what the fuck you want? And dude's like... And I was like, something's about to happen. And all of a sudden, he's like, this is a bachelor. And the cop's like, this is a bachelor party, right? And he starts doing this. And I was like, oh, shit, it's Magic Mike. And the guy starts ripping off his clothes. And he was like dancing like this, running up on. And then I looked at my friend Mike, and I was like, we got to get the hell out of here. We run out. And right when we're outside of the house, my buddy Mike is like, welcome to Baltimore City. And then we drove back to D.C. And I'm like, I don't care. What a great opportunity for me to learn. If no one respects you, or if no one accepts you, just fuck it. Who gives a shit? So I turned to my buddy Mike and I was like, yo, man, let's go to D.C. and get some of that Ethiopian spongy bread. Thank you. I'm Simone. That's my time. I'm not supposed to say that's my time.
Oh, you're touching my pumpkins. What a pig.
Simone, everybody, give him a hand. I see he walked a few of the children in the audience. I'm sorry. Nancy, what's up?
Well, I'd just like to introduce myself. I'm Casual Friday Witch, even on a Saturday.
Whoa. Casual witch?
That's right, because when you're a witch, you're already special, so you don't need to dress up.
I'm almost persuaded by your argument, but this is the Kennedy Center. We do not do casual witch. You're going to come with me. We're going to get you set up.
Okay.
Okay? Say goodbye to the people.
Bye. I'd also like to add that I'm looking for a man who wants my brains. Okay, give it up for Jeff Zimmerman.
It's Halloween, guys. Get in the game. I used to work as the assistant to a kangaroo shooter in the Australian outback. People eat them. They don't volunteer. And so, look, basically we were on a 1 million acre ranch about an 8-hour drive from cell phone coverage. And we drive around the desert at night. And since I wasn't allowed to shoot a gun or drive, I'm essentially a golden retriever with opposable thumbs at that point, right? So I stand on the back of a truck with a spotlight. I'd spotlight a kangaroo. The dude I worked with would shoot it through the brain from behind the wheel, and I would drag it up to the truck, pull out a machete. I would have to chop off its head and paws while he cut its heart open. We'd put a meat hook through its foot, hang it from a cage on the truck, and repeat for 8 hours until we had like 4.5 tons of meat. I know I look like I'm real good at killing stuff up here, but I'm not. I'm terrible at it. Just real bad. For one thing, it's just real hard when kangaroos are looking at you with their cold, dead brown eyes. And it's even harder when the other guy has already cut their heads off and just like, hurry up, mate, let's go. You're crap at this, right? Or I'd be crying and I'd swing, right? I just had like blood and then tear tracks through the blood and dirt. And I'd swing a machete and miss and hit this rock and all sparks would fly up. And Craig's standing back in the dark just sharpening his knife. And he'd just be like, yeah, fucking useless, fucking useless, fucking useless. You hear that 200 or 300 times, it starts to hurt your feelings a little bit, you know? I don't know, man. So why am I having a masculinity contest with an Australian kangaroo shooter? I don't know, but I forgot to bring a tape measure, and this is what we're doing, you know? So, like, I just want to get this guy's respect really bad. And one night we're driving around. We got a flat tire. And this I can handle, right? I graduated from high school in the 90s before people totally quit using their hands at all. So I could jump off of a truck. I'm like, I got this. You're going to want to go ahead and take a break. Craig, by the way, is just like, if you were to take several Crocodile Dundees, tie them together with baling wire to make a Voltron of Crocodile Dundees, and then cover it with like bullet-riddled leather, that's Craig, okay? This guy's got calluses behind his ears, okay? And he was like, right, we'll see about this. And he's just sharpening his knives. He's like, like this. So I climb under the truck, and I'm going to change the tire, and I'm looking around for the lug nuts, and it's on the jack. It's a little precarious, but it's pitch black outside. And then I just hear this like, and the underbelly of the truck just falls, and it just goes boom and falls off of the jack, and the truck just comes down like this, almost crushing my skull, kisses my nose, and then bounces off. And I just lay there for a second, and I felt this cold liquid just dripping onto my neck. And I thought, oh my God, we've got a coolant leak. We're going to die out here. The sun's going to come up. It's going to turn us into jerky, and then we're going to just die by 9 a.m. It's 110 degrees by 9 a.m. in the sun in the outback. What are we going to do? The good news is, not coolant. It was just congealing blood from a kangaroo's neck stump falling onto my face, neck, and mouth. And I did what anybody in my position would have done. I emitted a series of high-pitched and girlish squeals. And I just went, get off. And I'm dancing around in the dust, and Craig's just over there goes, fucking useless, I knew it. Fucking useless cunt. Useless cunt. If you're bad at something, you're a tired cunt. Useless cunt. If you're really lazy, you're standing around fucking the dog. Right? So, and I said, look, I can take care of this, okay? I know how to change a tire in America, like in a driveway. And he's like, psh, psh, psh. What you know about taking care of yourself, I could ride on my cock with a mop. Then he dives under the truck, changes the tire with one hand, and like rolls a whole pack of cigarettes with the other one, probably. This guy he's got a little something for everything, you know, and it's just burning me. So we camped in these tin sheds, like just corrugated tin, slept all day in the middle of the desert next to a diesel-powered meat locker. And you kind of sweat yourself awake several times a day. And my pants, I only brought one pair of pants because Craig had just called me before the trip and was like, pack light, I'll see you at the train station in 90 minutes flat. And he didn't say what to bring, so I just brought one pair of pants. And they were so soaked with animal blood that they were like this wearable scab I would put on every night. And I could lean them upright in the corner of my room, and they would draw the flies away from my face while I slept. Let that be a lesson to you. And so I got up to go to the bathroom, and I came back, and my pants are missing. That's going to be a problem. I should get on this. And I sit on my bed, and I'm like, where are my pants? And then this black thing just like wickers out from under my cot. And I looked under, and it's the tail of a 6-foot-long monitor lizard that has come into my room. They're called racehorse goanna, and they crawl all over the outback. They're like buzzards, and they eat just decaying meat. That's what they live off of. And they have incredibly razor-sharp claws and teeth. And they are so stupid that if you frighten them in a desert situation, they try to climb the nearest tall thing, which is usually your body. And they'll just lacerate you on the way up. We've got to drive 8 hours to call 911, so it's going to go septic. You're going to die. And I was just like, oh, fuck. I cannot show up for work tonight without any pants because I've allowed a lizard to eat them. Got to get on this, Jeff, right? So I'm whipping books at this thing, just like discs of Tron under my bed, and I finally hit it in the head, and it starts running off with my pants in its mouth because these things are a score for this. And then I got it. I remember I hit it in the skull with cat's cradle because I was thinking about all that Ice 9 covering the earth and being like, that sounds amazing right now. And it spits my pants out and runs off into the desert. And I thought, I've handled this. I've got a little something to brag about tonight. It's going to be good. Go to lay down on my cot. And then the walls of the room start going like this. And then the door kicks in. And it's just Craig there, silhouetted, wearing only a tiny black, like marble bag underwear that Aussies call budgie smugglers, and two the filthiest Ugg boots anybody's ever seen. And he's like pointing at me and yelling, and I was like, dude, did you let the lizard get your pants, man? Because, like, I handled it. Like, I'm good at this. And he was like, you knew? You fucking knew about this and you did nothing? And I said, knew about what? And he drags me down to the kitchen. And in our camp kitchen, the lizard has gone in there, grabbed our cooler and thrown it on the floor, smashed our eggs, and all milk has spilled in it, and it's danced around in it and licked it up and made a horrible, horrible French toast batter, and then run off into the desert when he chased it off. And he goes, right, look, it's not about you and your little challenges that you're overcoming, right? It's a team effort, right? When a lizard comes around, you run it off the property. And that's when I snapped. I said, listen, man, the next time a lizard tries to eat my pants, I will observe the protocol you've laid down here. But please don't act like I was meant to know that. Do I sound like I know this kind of stuff? Dude, I don't shoot kangaroos for fun and, like, punch sharks for work or whatever you do. And he goes, sharks, they're not like your bears, right? I said, bears. He goes, I reckon if a bear wants to eat you, you're fucked. They can swim, climb, run. And I was like, maybe not. I've camped around plenty of bears, and it really wasn't a problem. They just sniffed my tent, sniffed my car, and then they left. And he said, I'd have been so bloody scared. Thank you.
What'd you give him? What'd you give him?
I don't remember. Sorry, what did I give you?
It's a bat.
Oh, a bat.
Why? Oh, forget it.
For the theme.
You guys finally... Oh, did you notice? We got some real witchcraft going on. Give it up. This is Jill. She is the Wicked Witch of your night.
This is actually a period costume from the 80s.
Now you've got me worried.
What do you mean? With the literary work called Miss Nelson is Missing?
They are.
Obviously somebody is. I'm a high school teacher.
In real life.
In real life. Miss Nelson is Missing is about a really kind, good-hearted, blonde school teacher who's taken advantage of by her students. And I felt like it was time. Because I recently got a smartphone. I've always had a flip phone, and my students made fun of it. And
Rightly
the first
so.
day, go ahead, rightly so. The first day of school, I came back with an iPhone, and the kids were so excited. And one of the popular girls said, "Oh, Miss Wagner, let's take a selfie together." I thought, all right, cool, I'm cool. And so we take a selfie together. A couple days later, the kids told me, "Saw you on Snapchat." And I said, oh, interesting. Show me what it is. And the girl had cut herself out of the picture and written the caption, "When your selfie game sucks." And there I was smiling.
Oh, boo.
Yeah, boo. So now I need to be Viola Swamp.
All right, who's our last performer of the night?
Our last performer is, let's give a round of applause to Anthony DeVito.
Thank you, guys. Hey, how about a hand for everybody that you saw? Everybody, yeah. Whew. Man, my story is going to involve 100% less animal blood. Just probably none in it whatsoever. I went to college for architecture, and I only picked architecture because when I was 17, my aunt was she was dying. And she asked me what I was going to do to make the family proud. And I just got nervous, and I said architecture. And then she lived, and my family just ran with it. Yeah. I only said it because, like, I had just seen 3 Men and a Baby, and Tom Selleck is an architect in that movie. Like, if you asked me my favorite architect, I'd have been like Tom Selleck in 3 Men and a Baby. I like his work a lot. He's really good. So it was a real dilemma, too, because, like, I was 17. Like, I knew at that point I wanted to do stand-up comedy, but I had just told my whole family I was going to be an architect. And, you know, they were pretty excited about that. Like, way more excited than if I was like, I'm going to be a comedian. Like, that wouldn't have been exciting for them. So they were pretty jazzed about that. And it was a problem, too, because, like, I'm an only child. So, like, that's, like, a lot of pressure. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like if I had somebody before or after where, you know, they could pick up the slack if I'm a fuck-up. So it's a lot on me. So, you know, so it was a problem because, like, so our first project, I go to college, and what it was a theoretical project where on the ground floor it was supposed to be retail, and the top floor it was supposed to be apartments. It was, you know, I was like, all right, I have to, you know, I got to do this for my family, but I also have to be true to myself. So my idea was it was a store where you rent old people for parties, and then they live in the apartments above. So everybody wins, because, you know, technically that is a building. And if you're 19, that's a pretty decent joke. So, you know, everybody's happy. But, like, I had to, like, hide that part of the project from my professor, because I was already in hot water with the architecture department, because, like, the beginning, there was, like, a dance, like an architectural dance, like, thing. I don't know, like, what it was, but, so I just thought it was funny. There was, like, an older lady, like, professor. She was dancing. I was just trying to make my friends laugh, so I thought it'd be funny if I went up and grinded on her. And then, like, I, like, looked back, and they were, like, laughing. I was like, yeah, wasn't that great? And they were like, yeah, that was the dean. So it's like, yeah, maybe give me a heads up, you know what I mean? Like, you see me booty shaking over to the most important person in college, maybe pull me aside and be like, hey, fun fact, Anthony, before you ruin your life. So, and she didn't think it was hilarious, by the way, the dean. Yeah, she thought it was pretty disrespectful. That's the thing about architects. They're all fucking nerds. They really are. No, they don't, like, they don't get jokes, you know what I mean? Like, they take themselves too serious because they have to, because nobody else does. Like, nobody cares about architecture. Like, they really don't. Like people care about, like, their lives inside a building. They don't care about whether the floor plan's, like, asymmetrical or whatever. So, you know, they're very, like, self-important people, and, like, they're like ridiculous people too. Like, they'd be like look at, like, this is what an architect looks like. Like, they look like the Mentalist or, like, whatever. They just, like, so, like, no, like grown men in, like, bow ties would, like, dress me down, and I'd be like, yeah, if you wanted me to take you serious, maybe don't dress like a Republican senator in a cartoon. So don't do that. So the whole time, too, like, I'm working on this project, and my mom is, like, calling me, and she's like, hey, how's college going? And in, like, the back of my head, I'm, like, thinking about how to, like, transport old people across the country. But I'm just like, it's going great. I'm making a lot of friends. I met the dean. She's a little bonier than you'd like, but, you know, she's still pretty good. I like a thicker dean, you know, Mom? Oh, man. Yeah, so, all right, so, like, so I work on the project all semester, and then I go to hand in my drawings, and my professor's like, you're not going to hand them in, you're going to hang them up, because everyone's going to do a presentation of their project in front of the whole class of visiting architect and the dean. And I was like, that's great, my old dance partner. That'll be good to be reunited with her. So the presentation starts. I go last, and everybody's, like, amazing. And I'm just laughing because, like, I know what I'm about to do, but nobody else does. And after this, everything's going to be different. So finally they call my name. I go up to the board, and like, you know, when like I hadn't done any public speaking at the time. So like, you know when you like talk to a cop and you're really nervous, so you just tell them everything you've ever done in your life? Like that's what I was doing with this project. Like I was just like, oh, here's where we weigh the old people for pricing. They're vegetables. That's how we treat them. That's a real line. I was like, the price varies depending on their age and illness, how much they say Oriental. It's a lot of factors, you know, here at Party Over Here. So I had exhausted myself on like the business strategy part of this architectural project. So the apartments, I didn't get around to it. I was too hung up on, you know, proper vans to move them across the globe and, you know, all kinds of carriage systems. I had a lot of things worked out. Like, it was like a beautiful mind, but like real fucked up. You know what I mean? If that move... And like, instead of physics, he just focused on transporting old people across the world for the weirdest movie Russell Crowe has ever been involved in. But anyway, all right, the apartment, I didn't know what anything was. So, like, I was just pointing at different things, and I was like, oh, that's a bedroom. I'm going to make that a wrestling ring. Who gives a shit? I don't know. So then finally I just stopped. Like, I was done. Like, I don't even know that I said goodbye. Like, my body was just like, no. You're like, it, like, shut me down. Like, it took over at that point. You know when you're drunk and it just throws up? Like, it, like, kind of did that at that point. So, like, I'm standing there, and then, like, I look out, and it just, like, hits me. I'm like, oh, shit. Like, I think I just failed college. Like, I'm picturing my mom crying, like Tom Selleck's disappointed, all kinds of things. So then nobody says anything. And then the visiting architect walks up to the board, and I'm thinking the worst, and he just looks it over, and he looks at me, and he goes, Anthony, I just don't think it's a good idea to put the bedroom so close to the wrestling ring, because, yeah, you know. Yep, and then they tried to expel me. And my mom had to call him. It was a whole thing. But, like, it all, you know, like, it worked out. You know what I mean? Like, I stopped doing architecture. I started doing comedy. Like, if I never did comedy, like, I wouldn't be here, like, at telling this story at the Kennedy Center. Like, if I was an architect, I would have done one building. It would have fell down. I would have went to prison. Everybody be dead. That would have been it. All right, man, you guys were fun. Taco. Goodbye.
Stay where you are. Give it up for Anthony DeVito. Was that a scary, funny show? I think so. Give it up for all the performers. And now we're going to reintroduce everybody, starting with me. I'm Shrake. I put this joint on. And you can find us at storyleague.org. We're on Instagram, Facebook. Like us. Twitter, follow us. All that, please. And I want to throw my heart to you, the audience. You've been a fabulous crowd. Give yourselves a hand. We love you. Did I give you a piece of candy, Anthony? Okay. Hey, thanks. Keep it going for Simone. Sheldon Scott. Oh, he wants something else. Diane Ivy. Take one for Diane. Diane, you can have one. All right, you guys are going to get your own from now on. Jason Pittman. Jeff Zimmerman. And our fabulous witches, Grace Adiroja. Come on out here, Black Swan. Erica Etten. Come on out here, baby. Nancy Safavi. And Jill Wagner. Take a bow, a well-deserved bow. Woo! Yeah, get your candy. All right, everybody, see me if you want a piece of candy. Thank you so much for coming. Another bow, everybody. Happy Halloween! I hope it's a good one for you. We love you. Good night, and keep it rocking on Halloween.